If you think staying loyal to one company is the safe move for your career, I need you to hear this warning first. The steady job you are clinging to might be quietly working against you, not because effort does not matter, but because the entire system rewards a very different kind of employee than the one most of us are taught to become. I have sat in the rooms where promotions get decided and layoffs get finalized, and I have watched loyal, hardworking people get left behind every single time. Stick with me, because the reason might surprise you. Hey, I am Dre. Before this, I spent years inside recruiting and compensation planning, sitting in on the calibration sessions where promotion lists get built and quietly reshuffled behind closed doors. If any of that sounds unfamiliar, that is exactly the point of this channel. So if you are new here, go ahead and subscribe, because we pull back the curtain on the parts of your career that nobody explains to you directly. Now here is the uncomfortable part. Most of us were taught to value loyalty, stability, and hard work long before we ever collected a paycheck. Show up, keep your head down, pay your dues, and eventually the company will take care of you. That is not a bad set of values on its own. The problem is not loyalty itself. It is the point where loyalty quietly turns into passivity, and passivity is usually the thing that gets punished. So picture this. You get hired right out of school into an entry-level role. You are sharp enough, you get the certification your field expects, and for years, you do solid, dependable work. Your reviews come back steady, never spectacular, never alarming. You move up through the pay bands the slow way, one modest merit increase at a time. Every so often, you get handed a project, and you handle it well enough. Then one day, the manager who originally hired you leaves. You quietly hope you are next in line. You even formally apply for the role, but the organization decides to look outside instead. You are seen as solid, dependable, a good hand on the team. What you are not seen as is someone ready to lead it. So you stay. You keep doing good work, and you tell yourself your turn is coming. A couple of years later, a new hire joins your team at the entry level, and you find out they are making within a few $1,000s of your own salary. It stings for a minute, but you talk yourself out of the discomfort. You are almost vested in your retirement plan. You just qualified for another week of vacation. There is a bonus coming this year, so you stay. Then you hit the 10-year mark. You have paid your dues by any definition of the phrase, and that is usually right around when the rumors start about a downsizing. You tell yourself you are safe. You know every process. You are a valuable piece of the team. You are next in line for something, surely. And then you get called into a small office, and there is a folder on the desk with your name on it, and the terms of your separation inside it. Once the shock wears off, the second blow lands. You get back out into the job market and realize people 5, sometimes 10 years younger than you already hold the title you were quietly waiting for. You are not just unemployed, you are behind. And the years of paying your dues did not protect you from that. They likely contributed to it. Here is the insider truth nobody puts on the job posting. In calibration sessions, where leadership sits down to rank talent and decide who moves up, who moves out, or who simply stays where they are, dependable and unspectacular is one of the most common labels in the room. It is not a punishment, it is just a low visibility category. And when I used to post an open role and watch 200 to over 1,000 applications come in, that dependable, steady profile was the one I saw most often, which also means it is the one most likely to blend into the pile. There is another layer to this that most people never see behind the scenes. Some organizations quietly track something close to a flight risk score on their own talent, long before anyone ever resigns. And here is the counterintuitive part. Getting flagged as a flight risk is not always a bad thing. In some rooms, It is treated as a sign that someone is valuable enough to be worth worrying about, which occasionally speeds up a raise or a promotion that might otherwise have taken years. The quiet, dependable profile almost never triggers that kind of attention at all, because nobody is worried about losing someone who has shown no signs of looking anywhere else. Now picture a different approach, starting from the exact same place. Same entry-level role, same field, same day one. Except this time, you decide early that you want to lead a team eventually. So you treat that goal like a project with a deadline. You get the certification almost immediately instead of waiting. You go looking for the messy, unglamorous problems in your department. Build a short list of what could be improved and bring it to your manager as a proposal rather than waiting to be assigned something. That visibility starts compounding. You get put on more projects and more responsibility follows. You do not stop there. You start showing up at industry events and cross-department working groups, not to collect contacts, but because you understand that being known outside your own four walls is part of how opportunity actually finds people. Your name starts circulating as someone worth knowing. Before long, you are promoted into a lead role. But then you notice something. Your manager is not going anywhere. They are a fixture, and as long as they are there, there is no seat for you to move into, no matter how good your work is. So at one of those same industry events, you mention, almost casually, that you are feeling boxed in and might start exploring other options in the next few months. Someone in your network takes that seriously. A few conversations later, you are offered a role at a different company, with a meaningful jump in both title and pay. Exactly the experience you needed for where you are headed next. 3 years in, you have already passed the version of yourself that stayed quiet and waited. To be clear, this is not an argument against loyalty as a trait. Loyalty is fine. The problem is using stability as a substitute for a plan. One path waits to be discovered. The other treats every year, every project, and every relationship as a deliberate move toward a stated goal. If you do not already have a clear answer for what you are building toward, that is worth sitting with before anything else. Because without it, you end up drifting through a series of roles that never really add up to anything in particular. Think of yourself less like a loyal employee and more like a free agent in professional sports. A free agent offers their skills to whichever team makes the strongest case, and the most in-demand free agents spend their time sharpening exactly what makes them valuable. So they are the ones setting the terms instead of waiting to be picked. Nobody is coming to manage your career for you. There is no agent quietly negotiating on your behalf behind the scenes. That part is entirely on you. So how do you know if you are drifting into the first pattern without realizing it? A few things are worth paying attention to, and I want to be careful here because none of these guarantee anything on their own. They are signals, not verdicts. If your reviews consistently use words like solid or dependable rather than ready or next in line, that is often worth noting on its own. If you keep getting handed maintenance work instead of the visibility projects that get talked about outside your department, that pattern can be a sign your growth has quietly plateaued. If you have not had a real conversation with your manager about what is actually required for the next step up, in writing or otherwise, that absence tends to speak for itself. And if people who started around the same time you did have moved roles or companies more often than you have, it does not automatically mean they are ahead, but it is worth understanding why the gap exists. One more thing worth watching for is whether the projects you get handed are ever the kind that get mentioned in front of leadership, or whether they consistently stay contained inside your own team. If your work rarely leaves the room it was created in, that is often a quieter version of the same signal. So what do you actually do with this? First, get an honest read on where your pay sits against the current market for your role, not just against what you made last year, because those are two very different comparisons. Second, ask directly what specifically separates you from the next level, and push until the answer is specific enough that you could actually act on it. Third, start building relationships outside your own team and company before you need them, not after, because a network built under pressure rarely works as well as one built ahead of time. Fourth, if you do decide it is time to make a move, make sure that move has a clear purpose attached to it, whether that is title, scope, compensation, or mentorship you cannot get where you currently are. A calculated departure with a clear reason reads very differently to a hiring manager than a pattern of leaving every job after a year or two with no through line. And to be clear, none of this is legal or financial advice specific to your situation. It is general career guidance. So if you are navigating something like a formal separation agreement, it is worth having that reviewed by someone qualified in your jurisdiction. Fifth, put a rough timeline on your own goals, even a loose one, because vague ambition without a deadline tends to quietly extend itself by another year, and then another. And keep a short running list of your own wins and contributions as they happen, rather than trying to reconstruct them at review time, because memory fades and a written record does not. Here is the part that tends to surprise people the most. Annual merit increases at most companies tend to land in a fairly narrow, low single-digit range, year after year. Promotional moves, especially ones that involve switching companies, often bring a meaningfully larger jump, sometimes reaching into the double digits. That gap compounds over a career in ways that are easy to underestimate. I have sat across the table from hiring managers who were quietly uncomfortable watching a newly hired graduate land within striking distance of someone who had been in a similar role for a decade, purely because that is how starting offers had shifted in the market. It is not fair, and it is not really about your effort or your worth as a worker. It is about how compensation systems tend to be built. And once you understand that, the frustration makes a lot more sense, even if it does not feel any better. Part of the reason this happens is mundane rather than sinister. Most internal raise budgets get planned a year in advance around modest average increases, while external hiring budgets get built fresh around whatever the current market actually demands. Which means the same company can look tight-fisted internally and generous externally in the very same quarter, without anyone deliberately doing anything you would call unfair. So is a steady job actually bad for your career? Not exactly. And that is the nuance worth sitting with. Stability is not the enemy here. Passive stability is. A steady job paired with a clear goal, a running list of your own value, and the willingness to move when the role stops serving that goal is not instability. That is strategy wearing a stability costume. The version of stability that quietly hurts you is the kind that asks nothing of you and gives you permission to stop asking questions about where you are actually headed. If this changed how you are thinking about your own position, hit subscribe, because this channel exists to explain the parts of your career that never get spelled out for you directly. Drop a comment and tell me whether you have lived the first pattern, the second one, or a mix of both. I read all of them. And if you have ever wondered what it actually looks like inside the room when a company decides who gets the promotion and who gets quietly passed over, that is exactly what I am breaking down next. So keep an eye out for that one.